At 7:01, it looks like, the DRB hearing for, DRB meeting for June 10, 2019. First thing is there any public communications not on the agenda tonight? There being none, we'll take minutes from May 13.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a comment on this.
Go ahead.
Line 22, I wanted to express that I reviewed the video, not just read the minutes when I voted. Line 122, Dave H. expressed that the uses proposed are acceptable. I didn't mean to make that assertion on behalf of the board. What I said.
What line is that, Dave?
122.
122 on
Okay.
page 3. I didn't mean to make that assertion as it's worded on behalf of the board. What I wanted to say was that, what I think I said in the meeting was that we didn't hear a lot of objection to the uses. I don't think a DRB member saying that the uses are acceptable is a good summary. That's it for me.
Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, so this was in the
Line 22.
NERI?
122.
Oh,
Yeah,
122.
yeah, the problem is that I've commented on both line 22 and 122. So 122 sounds like somebody on the DRB, me, said these uses are acceptable.
I see.
That's not what I meant to say. I was summarizing the conversation saying the applicant hadn't heard a lot of pushback on the uses. Because later in the meeting, we all decided that, to push for more information.
How about seem to be?
That's fine. I just didn't want to, I just don't want to make, I know I didn't make a commitment on behalf of us. That's not what I intended, and I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Any other comments on the, or changes on the minutes for our meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll go over the agenda here. I think we all know what it is, including the participants, but I must read it. It's an application, file number 2019 -05 181, request by Harley Grice Revocable Trust for two-lot final plan plat subdivision approval on parcel 005181,000. The Grice property is located at 1126 Halpin Road in the Agricultural Rural District. And I should remind everyone, if you you should sign in if you want to testify at all on this or any future concerns here. And that's it for our agenda. I will now administer the oath. And the oath is, I affirm that the evidence and information I am giving in this proceeding is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge and belief. Everybody agree to that?
Dave and Victoria, too. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, Board. Jason Barnard, Barnard and Jarvis. We're the land surveyors, wastewater designers.
I'm hoping it comes up.
So the last time we were in with an ortho-based sketch plan, sort of just laying out what the concept of the subdivision was.
Excuse me, Jay.
We need to ask you, see, we're looking at you with that.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So here's our pointer.
You got it.
Thanks.
Overall, the project proposed 284.6 acres inside the overall farm parcel. We surveyed out a 2.19 acre chunk out of the original parcel. with a proposed right-of-way into the lot, follows an existing field road, turns into a woods road. The access is there, relatively, almost not much change in elevation all the way across the site. I would say less than 5 feet over the whole course of the road. Really nice access. We do have a building envelope in the, what would be the northwest corner of the property for one single-family home with a garage. Wastewater permit has been submitted to the state. I think we're going on 47 days, plus or minus. I did call in to the state. It's going to be a few more days. I guess things are moving a little slow these days. But fully complying disposal system. Don't anticipate any big issues with the state issuing the permit relatively soon. Straightforward in terms of what's being proposed on the lot. We did size up the system for potential future structure over the garage or accessory unit over the garage. So as you can see, over on Halpin Road, just barely see the top, what would be the upper left-hand corner of the drawing. Here's the right-of-way going into the property, into the parcel, 3.9 acres, 3.19. That's the parcel that we surveyed. Some of the pins have been set. We got a couple more. I think it just needs to go out and finalized. And I believe that's right where we were in terms of acreage, building envelope. The goal is to basically have an area of land that is not agricultural land. It's wooded. It's sort of tucked away. There's a lot of ledge. It's a nice flat, very flat plateau where the house is going, and then there's an existing woods road that'll get down to the wastewater system. So it's a really nice, it's off the road. It looks back to the east. It's protected. There will be trees. You can hardly really see it from the roadway. Right?
Yeah.
It's very well protected. It's at least 400 feet across the field or more, maybe 500 feet. In a nutshell, that's the proposal. Very simple. 2-lot subdivision. The overall farm parcel was not surveyed. That's acreage based on tax maps.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have questions. During the sketch plan hearing, it was suggested that the proposed homeowners and Mr. Clark would be able to come to some agreement. It's not clear to me from the plans that were provided that the driveway has been moved at all. So if you could address that.
Sure. Prior to our survey, Mr. Clark and Wes met at the site. They set a stake where they agreed on where the access would be. We surveyed that in, and that's what the right-of-way is based on.
And that's in the, may I speak?
Gary?
Yes,
May I speak?
yes.
Is that indicated by the 3 orange plastic tags on the barbed wire? Is that where the new entrance will be?
That's where Wes put the new entrance. Yeah, the stake was set, I think, the morning before we actually did the survey, when you guys met out at the site and set a stake where the road would go, and we shot the stake in and we checked everything. That was up on the points file with the CAT, with our drafting software, and that's where the survey ended up. So that's where the flag was to get the right-of-way.
And so the plans you've submitted to us include that positioning?
That's correct.
The existing agricultural road, is that going to move over to at that point and use the driveway as an exit rather than having 2 exits onto Halpin Road?
Yes, that I envision that would be the access to the field or to where it would be after it's reconstructed as a residential drive.
I think that's also up to, a lot of that is up to the person leasing the farm, which is Joel Palmville, and it will be you guys, as far as if he wanted to keep it there or use the driveway. I mean, we're fine with the using of one driveway, if that's okay with him, that meets his needs, but.
Well, in some of these materials, it said that the new driveway is a mere 45 feet from the existing gateway. It would seem to me we wouldn't want 2 exits so close together. So maybe that's something the board would want to address.
Now, it's pasture, right?
Yeah.
Pasture, so it's
Yeah.
not, I mean, I'm not sure how many times a year he accesses the pasture, but minimal.
He doesn't load cows there. The cows are loaded from the barn, so it's not used very often, but.
Dave, do you have any comment on that?
I would have thought the town's permit should have addressed that you probably wouldn't have those two stacked up like that, but that's something the board can consider as
Is
a
that-
condition.
Is
I
there a
don't
right-of-way
remember
permit?
seeing that.
They do
in
have the right-of-way permit. I sent it to you
remember
after the
seeing
fact.
that in the permit, though.
Yeah, it's because of the way Middlebury does things. There,
So that's something that we can,
you could,
Put as a
you could make a
condition.
condition. It's certainly not in the best interest of traffic on the road to potentially have two accesses within
We understand.
45, 50 feet of each other, plus Mr. Clark's driveway as well, so. But you would agree to using the driveway for the farm road too?
Yeah, it's not bother us, especially with
Okay.
the limited use that it sees.
Yeah. It's really not used all that much.
Any other questions?
I had a question. You just mentioned you were upsizing the septic mound. Is it
Yes,
based on how many bedrooms or?
Right now, we've got it sized up for a 4-bedroom, but it's actually large enough to do a 3-bedroom, single-family home with a 1-bedroom accessory apartment.
We noted last time that the utilities are supposed to be run underground. Is that something that's going to happen in your minds?
Yeah, we don't necessarily want power lines going to our house, so yeah, we would like to have them run underwater or underland.
Is that something, Dave, that if they found the cost of that to be somewhat higher than they anticipate, they could discuss with staff, or?
Yeah, the rules say that it's supposed to be buried.
Right.
So to the extent that it can be buried, I think, if it was really cost prohibitive, they could certainly come back and talk to us about it. But
Any other questions, comments?
I do have one question. You talked that the stormwater permit is not necessary.
Under an acre of
It's under an acre.
Yeah.
Does that include any non-ag impervious on the overall lot as well, or you just?
We haven't done the barn structures, but
Okay.
we certainly can.
Oh, I just, if there, I didn't know if there was other non-ag uses or
All of it,
impervious on the property.
Two residences and the rest are ag use.
Okay.
And the driveways are real short going into, it's,
Okay.
they're right on the road.
Yep.
But we can certainly take a look.
Okay.
Should be under.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public have comments, questions?
I'll make a motion, I move that the Middlebury Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing of June 10th, 2019, approve this request for final subdivision approval to create a 3.1 acre lot
Here,
near 1126 Halpin Road.
as discussed
Yeah.
in the deliberate,
Yeah.
okay, you're all right.
As discussed in deliberative session, subject to approval of the final plat by the DRB chair, and to add a condition that we allow only one access point to the property. That- am I-
That the existing access be moved to coincide with the new driveway access.
Yeah, I don't want the one that just You know, that's the only way you're gonna get to everything.
Second.
Understand my.
Dave seconded it. All in favor?
We need to
Aye.
strike the part about the deliberative session.
Strike the part?
Yeah, because we did not have
We didn't do that
I get it.
in the motion. Otherwise, I approve.
Okay.
Sorry.
So are we
No, that's
approved?
fine.
Everybody said aye?
If you need the
Yeah.
seconder's consent, you have it.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it'll take me at least a couple weeks to draft a decision, and once it's issued, Gary will have to sign it, but then it'll be issued, and then there's a 30-day
wait.
appeal period.
You'll remind me that I've got to send it back.
I'll call you.
Mr. Chair?
I'm
So
not the
it's-
regular.
And they
It takes a
won't,
little bit of time,
and
that's
they
all.
won't get the permit until they have
Did
their
we vote?
wastewater.
Well, let's vote.
That's, well,
Let's make this official.
that's right. Well, the
And
building
threw that
permit for
last
the
bit in,
house.
and we were about to vote, so we never did actually
All
vote.
right, all in favor of the motion as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
There.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Double approved.
See you later.
I think some people did say aye. I just don't know if it actually.
We were all about to, but then Ann's like, well, wait,
I
I
got
want
an
to
eye
strike the
out
thing.
before she changed
Yeah, yeah, I never voted, so I want to make
decisive.
sure it's official.
We should have put our heads together to reconstruct that motion and just read it off the paper. 'cause-
You guys have been going into deliberative session, that was the only reason I left it in there. but-
Appreciate it.
So I said only one access, and then the eyes lit up, so I thought, oh, okay.
You want to just close the hearing, take a
Yeah,
motion to
yeah,
close it?
Okay, I'll close the hearing and we'll open the regular meeting.
Yeah,
For any
Or
other
vote,
business.
yeah.
I move to close the
The Grice hearing?
session, yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back in regular meeting now. Do you have any other business?
To my knowledge, we don't. On the 24th of this month, it's a continuation of two humdingers. It's the Holmes appeal of Jen's
Oh, yes.
decision. I have not heard a thing. Jason, you aren't aware of this. There was a, I don't believe you were anyways.
No.
There was an appeal of Jennifer's decision relative to Dunkin' Donuts and snow plowing. So it's kind of an interesting
Okay,
little.
I have heard some of that,
Okay.
yes.
Is Jason allowed to participate if he views the past video, even though he wasn't on the board at that time?
He could participate if he wanted.
It's quite interesting.
Did you have anything to do with Dunkin'
No,
Donuts or any of
no, I
that?
haven't. We-
So maybe you could if you want to.
That was February, when was that?
No, that was,
More recent than that, I think.
Yeah, it was more,
yeah,
It was the same night, I missed that meeting as well. It was the
hang
same
on.
night as the
Oh, you really?
Was it-
Community Barn Ventures was doing their,
I think it was the first part of April.
potentially, yeah.
And
It
you can
was-
actually
might have
go
thought it
on,
was February.
It was
Line.
April 8th,
yeah.
April 8th?
yeah.
So if you go online to the MTV website, you can go to you can find that.
Okay, I'll look that up and watch it.
And you probably you only need to look at that.
And
That was the first,
the
I
last,
think,
it was the last part.
was it the last hearing? Okay,
Yeah.
last part of the hearing.
The first part was
Pretty
the
entertaining.
stone mill.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Now, I was thinking about that the other day when he said, you know, that he could testify, but nobody else could because we're going by court rules. We don't go by court rules. We go by DRB rules.
Right, well,
We are not a court. We're quasi-judicial.
Right.
We make our own rules.
No, the
Kevin-
DRB rules require us to use the rules of evidence, but they do also say, which I was thinking about,
What you-
that when it's necessary to provide facts not reasonably susceptible to proof under those rules, meaning you can't bring, in my opinion, you can't bring the person, like Jen wanted to tell a tale of people to whom she had spoken, and the attorney wouldn't allow that. And it says, if you can't reasonably prove that, evidence not ordinarily admissible and not precluded by statute may be admitted if it's the type commonly relied upon by reasonably prudent persons in the conduct of their affairs.
That's what I meant.
But given Mr. Dumont's attitude, I think we'd need to look into that further if we had that situation in the future, where an attorney or someone was objecting on the grounds of hearsay. We'd really need to think about that.
Well, that's why he did it, of course, but I think he's the one that should prove it, though.
I think Mr. Holmes has the responsibility of proving that his appeal is valid. And as such, he needs to really be here, and I'm gonna impress upon him that,
And I was looking through the rules, and whereas it doesn't address appeals specifically, it says the DRB can require people to be present. So if he doesn't come,
yeah.
and there's no agreement, we
Yeah.
should move the date again and tell him he has to be here.
And the bottom line is, I mean, you could, in essence, say that there wasn't, Mr. Holmes wasn't here, you couldn't cross-examine him, the record's not complete, and therefore, there's not enough evidence to find for the appellant, so you find for the ZA.
Yes.
He's probably waiting until he gets.
And I'm not
paid for what he's
suggesting,
done already.
is this still running? Okay. But I just want to be careful that I think we're going to just ask Mr. Holmes to be here, that's all.
That's a good idea. And we probably all noticed that Pool World building is down.
Yeah, it's cleaned up pretty well.
They cleaned that up well.
What is the other half of, you said it was a two-part humdinger?
Oh, it's,
Tony,
Tony Neary, continuation of Tony, and
Middle Road.
I don't know exactly where he's at. I just told him that he just needs to be clear about what he's asking for, and if it's a particular use, give us a size and seating as in a restaurant, or, overall square footage of a retail store, something that we can go on.
He, of course, wants a blank check.
So on Ann's point, how do we determine, I mean, if it happened once, it's gonna happen again, that somebody sends counsel, and there were actually two problems procedurally with that hearing. One was that he was objecting to statements being made by another party based on the rules of evidence, but the other was he was refusing to testify,
Right.
saying
Well, that's
this was
what I object.
inappropriate as an advocate. So how do we get crystal clear? Do you feel like you have crystal clarity on?
Yes,
What
in
needs
that
to happen?
situation, again, we would require that the person the attorney claims to be representing actually be there to give evidence. I mean, you can be the rules say you can be represented by someone else, but that's sort of like Jason, I would think, who was sworn
Yeah.
and gives testimony on
Makes
behalf of the
representations,
applicant.
yeah.
If it's an attorney who's just there to make sure the procedure is followed appropriately and advise his client, the client needs to be there.
Well, that's exactly how I feel about it. It's all well and good to have counsel, an attorney, an architect, whatever. But if that person can't make assertions or answer questions about the project, then let's just continue the hearing.
Sure, you get paid to
So-
be here.
I think we need to be careful about being real specific about that application. I think we're being general, but
Yeah, no, I
In-
am not specific about that. I'm saying it raised an important question to me. If it is a legitimate legal issue, I'm sure it's going to come up again. And I think we do need to have an answer of how somebody is representing a client before us, what we expect of them.
Have we talked to town council on this matter?
not yet.
That would be
I
a
would
good
advise
idea.
that.
I would suggest if that's, I'm sure it is a possibility that we do that. I think we'd feel much better about it. We get some clarity in it, and then we can handle it from there.
Have him design our rules of evidence. Because there is some difference between court and here.
I mean, we do have a rule that says if the applicant fails to appear, you reschedule. And if they don't come for the rescheduled hearing, the the board has authority to deny the application or the appeal. And being represented is a separate issue from being present or having someone present who can testify on your behalf.
Right. I learned a lot about attorneys testifying when I was in New Haven. They'd tell the board, oh, you can do this. I once asked Mike, what was his name? He no longer is a private attorney. He works for the state. I said, is that advice worth just what we're paying for it? Oh, he didn't like that.
Should we get off the tape here? So I think
You
we're
need a
done.
motion to-
We're done.
Yeah, close the meeting.
I move we adjourn. the
I
meeting.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's it, guy.